Think logically. The flaw that makes a house with a crawl space cold in winter is the way that it's insulated. You can't expect results from open vents and fiberglass insulation in the floor joists. If you have a crawl space, I urge you to get in the right mindset. Rethink your comfort this winter.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Eric Gans. I'm an energy auditor in Maryland. I also am a home performance contractor. And today I want to talk to you just a little bit about how to deal with a crawl space if you have one, especially as we come up here on the colder months.
An open crawl space works against you in the winter months because most attics are inadequately sealed and insulated. Heat rising up can rapidly escape. As it does, it creates a pressure vacuum that can pull cold air in from the lower parts of your house, like the crawl space. It is a never-ending cold season cycle.
And you have a crawl space that has open vents in the winter, it doesn't take, too much thought to realize why people with open crawl spaces always feel so cold. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the steps that you can take to alleviate that, to make your crawl space act a little bit more like a basement. And on that note, if you think about it, if you have an open crawl space and you have insulation at the ceiling, then that insulation is not typically working properly for you, because insulation not only needs to be in place, but you also need to have some type of an air barrier. And whenever I visit a crawl space, I always see one and not the other. And that is, I always see the insulation, but I never see the air barrier. So what's happening is you're allowing that cold air to infiltrate through those vents in the winter, and it's just going to go right up through the insulation and into your house. And that's why I was saying that a basement is similar in the sense that if you had a conditioned basement, then you wouldn't leave a window open all winter long. And that's essentially what's happening when you have an open crawl space. So my recommendation is, step one, if you're on a budget, is seal off those open vents. The way you do that is you block them off with rigid foam board. You have to cut the pieces to the right size and seal it in with foam. And all of this can be removed if you find that this doesn't work for you. But what you want to do is get those jammed in there nice and tight, get some foam around it, and that's step one. The next step, if you want to make your crawl space a little bit more like a basement, is to seal and insulate the rim joist area. That would be step two. Once you do that, then you're going to be really taking that space to the next level in terms of making it act like a basement. The third thing that I recommend is a vapor barrier. Especially on those dirt floors, you want to make sure that that vapor barrier is entirely sealed. You want to make sure that it runs up the wall at least a foot. You want to seal it to the wall, and that way none of that moisture, especially in the humid months, can migrate up through the plastic, through any cracks, through any holes, and back into the space, making it more humid and less desirable.
The next thing you want to consider is where the access to the crawl space is. If the entrance is on the outside, you want to improve the access door in any way possible. One example was my improvements to this old hatch door that was not even attached. I got a thick piece of pressure-treated plywood. I took measurements and cut the panel to the correct size. Next, I added rigid foam board to the plywood to maintain the R value of the insert. Weather stripping should be added so that it creates a seal when screwed into place.
Finally, and probably the least important, but important, would be to insulate the walls. And you need to figure out for your region what that R value needs to be. In Maryland, it's equal to or greater than R11.
It's common sense. Seal out the cold below and live more comfortably in the space above.